Welcome, everyone, to It Tastes Different Gaming Appetizers. And tonight, we're going to talk about everybody's favorite topic, AI and video games. Seems like we can't beat this dead horse enough, right? All right. So, Helldivers 2 boss argues Arc Raiders' use of AI actually makes gaming better, and that people jump to extreme takes about the tech. Surely there's a middle ground. So, if you don't know, it has been basically developers of Arc Raiders have come out and said, "Hey, we use AI in our game." It'll be hard to argue that it's a bad thing with the popularity of Arc, but let's kind of read through the article here. We will not be playing as Ron Burgundy here. We'll skip the first little part there. The CEO of Helldivers 2 Studio Arrowhead, Shams Georgiani, has been speaking out about Arc Raiders' controversial use of AI, saying he believes it's a very interesting use case that actually makes games better. Speaking on a new episode of the Game Business Show, Georgiani says he finds that any talk related to AI in the gaming industry ends up falling into one of two extremes, where on one hand, we see the likes of Square Enix proclaiming it wants to automate 70% of QA testing and debugging, and on the other hand, we have developers who feel that their livelihood, the very fabric of their being, is being threatened, and therefore all AI is bad, he questions. Maybe could it be that the reality is somewhere in the middle? Arc Raiders uses AI for certain voice lines, for example, player pings and callouts, allowing players to communicate sort of vocally by pointing out specific dangers and items without actually having to use voice chat, and also for some NPC voice lines. So it says Embark has explained that real voice actors were hired for the game, but in addition, devs utilizing a form of text-to-speech to generate lines, which I think text-to-speech happens a lot more often than people think. And I don't necessarily call that AI, but they probably use some type of other stuff that they're talking about. So text-to-speech certain lines, arguing that the systems allow for vocal pings of every single item name, every single location name, and compass direction, and without needing to have someone come in every time we create a new item for the game, which makes sense to me. Should make sense to most people, right? That would get very expensive. But not everyone is thrilled. After all, there's still an argument to be made that this has taken away work from a real voice actor, which is true, at a time when many are worried about AI replacing human jobs. But it's worth keeping in mind that real individuals were hired and paid for their involvement in this case. It's the use of the technology in Arc Raiders player comms specifically that Georgiani praises, noting that he personally doesn't do voice in games as communicating directly with people. I don't know is very scary. Therefore, he argues, I think it allows more people to connect with each other, which is ultimately a good gaming thing. Let's just make sure that people are paid for their work. So Georgiani continues, noting that he would oppose this dichotomy that some say developers don't want to use AI. Anyone who is in any level of production, you're always looking at ways to create more efficiently, reduce the stuff you don't want to do so you can do more of the stuff you want to do. With that said, he clarifies, we don't put any AI in the games, but it can allow for me to do my receipts faster. Then that's more Helldivers for everyone. Not Helldivers specifically, but you get the point. So, get rid of this article. We don't need it anymore. But, there's a double-edged sword here, right? Yes, you do have a problem with people not getting paid, not getting a job, right? Because they decided to do things like this. I have said this so many times, AI is a multiplier. And it can help with things like what they used it for, which is, POI point outs and tagging in Arc Raiders. If you played Arc Raiders, you know that you have the ability to chat with other players in the game, or they have like a quick menu where you can, do quick call outs of things like don't shoot, help, whatever, all kinds of stuff like that. But they're more talking about when you're pinging a thing on a map, it actually voices out what you're pinging and things like that, and sounds like they use AI in that aspect to basically sound pretty authentic of pointing out the Hornet or whatever, the POI in the distance that you're coming into. So, I mean, I I don't really have a problem with this. I mean, it adds a layer to the game that you wouldn't have got because they probably just would, if they didn't use AI, they probably would not have voice acted that. They probably would have just been like, you're getting a text overlay. That's it, right? That's all you would have gotten. I would believe that because it's too much time and effort to every time they add a new map or a POI, they have to pay a voice actor to come in and speak the name of the item that you just pinged on the map, or you just pinged out in the distance, right? Or you just pinged what you dropped, because you can ping what you drop and it'll, ping it for your teammates. So I am not against AI in any aspect of work. I am against AI replacing people to do jobs. But it's going to be a fine line because I could, where Square Enix said that they were going to replace 70% of their QA and testing staff. I mean, the same thing happened with QA testing and automation, right? You ended up having a smaller QA team because you can create automated testing back in the day where you could say, okay, I need to run this call. I'm going to create automated testing for it. And I have an automation engineer do that. So you may have lost a couple of QA analysts, but you gained an automation engineer or two in your staff, right? Create those automation tasks that would take something humans to do a week. You can have automation tasks do in a day or two. So, I mean, technology has always done this. Every time we have some type of new or leap in technology, there is a paradigm shift, right? The paradigm shift here is that you have AI developers and you have AI technicians and support and all this replacing the people that are getting supplanted. What is going to happen, and I do think is happening in the industry, is that all these companies that were like balls in on AI and then replacing entire staffs or 99% of staffs is basically finding out that they shot themselves in the foot because AI is not there and it is not ready for that. Like, you can have AI can do great things. It can write code for you. I have it write code for me. I'm not a developer. I used it when I was trying to learn Python. It would write Python scripts for me and I would see if I could follow what it was doing, or I would throw in my crappy Python script that I wrote and it would tell me what I did wrong, But at the same time, you would ask it to write something in Python and it sometimes would spit out complete, utter shit. And you're like, what the hell did you do here? And it would, because it would hallucinate or it would misinterpret what you asked it to do. So it's not there, but I do see it as a force multiplier. I have no issue with what Arc Raiders did. I'm not one of these people of AI is going to take my job. Maybe in the future it might, because what ends up happening with new technologies is you either grow. There's two things that happen in the technology industry. You either grow or you go stagnant. And when you go stagnant, you pretty much are on the chopping block. That's how it always is, right? If you're not willing to learn and grow in the field, and especially in technology and IT, then you're going to get left behind. And when you get left behind, you get replaced. So that's what typically happens. That's what's happened in my entire almost 30-year IT career, that you get left behind is what ends up happening. And then you either get relegated to doing some obscure technology that nobody deals with anymore because it's hard and it's a pain in the butt. And it only lives in this very small corner of some industry somewhere. But that is life, right? But technology swings on a dime when you think about it. I remember when I was younger, Linux was the big thing, right? Because Linux was free. Microsoft came in and Apple came in and dominated the market, took all that stuff away. But guess what? Guess who's in the forefront of technology today? Linux. All cloud native technology pretty much runs on a Linux type stack. So, we've gone a whole wraparound, right? We went from a command prompt, to a GUI, and now everything is going back command prompt. You got CLIs all over the place. It's like every technology is flip flops. It's powerful to be able to run commands in specific syntax with parameters to get done what you need, rather as having to rely on a clunky UI that can do it, but it takes you 10 clicks to get there when I could have just ran a simple single line command, right? So it is, technology changes. You either get with it, you learn it, so you can learn what it can and can't do, and you just outpace it yourself. That's how I look at it. You adapt. So I'm not against this. Shane, what do you think about Arc Raiders' use of AI? Are you against it? Are you for it? I know sometimes there's some things in AI that you get pretty heated about, but what is your overall thoughts what Arc Raiders is doing? And overall, what do you think about AI in video games? Do you think there's room for any of it or room for none of it?
I'm trying to answer it without in a clean way, because AI is, like you've said before, a useful tool. The problem is the tools that use it. Companies are destroying livelihoods because of AI. How many thousands upon thousands of jobs have been lost this year for AI use? So it's a slippery slope. You say, okay, I'm going to use it to do this. Not a problem. It's okay. I use it. Works out nicely. You know what? I got this. I don't need Bob no more. Sorry, Bob, but it's going to save me money. It's going to be better for profits, blah, blah, blah. And then that just steamrolls. You find more and more uses for AI, which requires less people, which means more firings, which means, more unemployment. I absolutely understand AI as a tool, but I hate AI the way it's destroying things. And it really is. Yes. It's making certain jobs easier. Yes. I've used it in some of our images. You use it for text stuff. Nick, don't even ask what Nick uses it for, but it's not the tool. It's the person using it. That's the concern I have. I have no problem with AI itself. I have a problem with the destruction that people cause with it. And losing your job is just, it destroys lives, literally destroys lives. I mean, you lose your income, you lose your medical, you lose, all this crap, it destroys families. That's my problem with AI. I don't think AI should be used in video games if it takes away jobs. I don't think AI should be used in anything if it takes away jobs. That's just the way I see it. Am I right? I don't know. I mean, is it going to be better off is there a way to use AI to make it better for everybody where everybody's going to be happy? No, because of what AI is. AI is a replacement tool. AI replaces, like the big thing right now, all these weird videos that come out, these politicians are putting them out, these movie stars are putting them out, these influencers are putting them out. You see all these videos and they get more and more realistic. It's amazing. Some of the stuff it can do now. It used to be just, look for the fingers. That's getting harder and harder to do anymore. One of the politicians put a video out the other day and somebody pointed out where they spliced in AI into the real video and you could see it with the mouth thing. And it was like, why would they do that? Why not just let them use the words? Because they probably F something up, said something wrong. And, that's just what it is. So AI is a good tool for certain things, because I loved when I first started kind of playing with it for the images we do. I had some neat stuff come up. I had Kratos riding in a Mario Kart. That was fun. I do this for fun. I don't want to lose my job for it. I mean, my career, I could definitely lose my job with AI. You guys, from what I understand, you guys too. I'm not a tech person. It's like when you were talking about the GUI. I don't know what the fuck GUI is. I don't. But I don't want to see people losing their jobs for AI. That's my big thing. If they're going to use it in here for voice acting, get a voice actor. I know it's, it saves you money, but you're depriving people. You're hurting people. Use your janitor. Use a bill from accounting. Give them a $20 bill. Say, hey, every time somebody pings on this, I give you a penny. Something. But you don't need AI to do that. I just me. That's just my feelings, because I'm not anti AI. I'm anti people that use AI in bad ways. So, what about you, Nick? You're tech savvy. You probably know what GUI is. You don't have to explain it to me, because I probably don't want to know.
I don't want to explain it.
You reach Tech Talk with Nick.
I don't like AI. Burn it all down.
Good man. Good man. He didn't really say that. That was AI.
Was that really me?
Was that me?
No, as far as ARC Raiders go, like I understand why they did that. That makes a lot of sense because there's a lot of items, a lot of things to ping, a lot of points of interest that Pat was talking about, and it makes sense to be able to use AI to, every time they add a new item in the game, since it is a live service, they're going to be adding lots of things, and to have to constantly bring a voice actor or actress in to, say the lines on everything that they change or add in there. It's a lot easier in a sense for them to utilize an AI voice to do that for them. But, I understand Shane's point of view too. Like that takes away from a voice actor from getting paid to come in and do that, right? You're not really taking, it's not like the voice actor's like, whoo, good thing I missed out on that one. It's like, it's really like the developers saying, hey, we don't have to pay someone, we can have AI do this for us, which it is. They don't have to go through the whole process of bringing someone in, having them record the lines, all that stuff. They can just have AI do it. So it is easier in that contrast, right? So there is a fine, fine line there. There's a slippery slope where AI can be utilized in a productive way, but we know that these corporations are looking to more of less productive and more of replacement, right? They're looking to take away jobs and replace them with AI doing these things. And so it could go the route like Pat was saying, where, he's exactly right, where technology evolves, or even not even technology, but a lot of jobs evolve, and they have, they replace those old jobs with new jobs that take over the old one, right? It's evolved into something different now. And so now, instead of typewriters, now we're computers, right? And stuff like that, right? And various other things, so on and so forth. Like there's a bunch of different jobs out there, not just in technology, that have changed, that evolve throughout. And usually those people that have done the job before, they get trained, hopefully, on doing the new thing, right? So, I don't mind if companies want to take people and say, hey, we're evolving this to do this. So we need to, what you're doing now is going to become obsolete, but we're going to train you to take over another aspect of this thing right here or whatever. But I have a feeling that most corporations are going to go in the opposite direction of, thanks for your service, goodbye. And, AI Bob's going to take over and do it all, right? And so that's the thing that worries me about AI. But yeah, I mean, I can see ARC Raiders. I can see ARC Raiders' reasoning for wanting to do this. For those purposes, they did say they did hire, Pat went over this at the beginning, but they did hire voice actors for the voice lines and stuff like that in the game. It was just the little piddly stuff that they used that for. And we've seen other things, right? I mean, I think the most disappointing use of AI was Call of Duty Black Ops, right? I don't know if anybody out there has seen the I think it's the title cards or the I don't know what they're called, like the death cards or the game cards or whatever, but you can clearly tell that was like, those are AI generated. Like those are clearly AI generated. There's like ChatGPT AI generated images.
And there was zero supervision on that because
it was just like, create me one, and then whatever it spit out, that's what they used basically.
You want to review this, Bob? Nah, put it out there.
It looks fine. And it's like, and it's stuff like that. It just makes me feel like, okay, you have these games that are like Call of Duty. My oven's going off. Or
sorry, I'm backing
someone's
up.
burning something actually. So, you have games like Call of Duty that spend an Activision that spend a shit ton of money every single year on building these games out, and then they want to go around and use AI to develop stuff for them. And it's like, you've spent so much money and you have so much money, and you're just going to try to go the free route on everything. But I'll put myself on mute so we don't have to hear my beeping.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like anything. And I'll use a real world experience from my own career, right? I used to work on giant reader sorters back in the day in the banking industry. And they were anywhere from like 6 to 48 pocket machines that were the size of a wall, that were taller than a person. And all they did was they were the end of day check clearing for banks, right? Banks would come in to the central to the back office processing, and they would load this thing with checks. And they had different models. They can do anywhere from 300 to 1,200 checks a minute, and it would read them. It would endorse the back of them with ink, and what it's reading is a magnetic Micker ink line, right? The Micker line on it, and it would put then in a pocket. Depending, it would endorse the back of it with a inkjet printer. It would also Micker encode the missing value on the check, because when you write a check at the bank, they don't know what the value is. So the machine reads it, scans it with a digital camera, endorses the back of it, writes the amount on the Micker line, and then sends it down to a pocket that says, what branch did this check come from? Is this on us or a transit item? Big old piece of equipment that costs, $800,000 plus. And when it went down, the bank's end of day processing was down, right? I was an on-call technician for that stuff back in the day. You would have to go in, repair this equipment. And one guy got paid to be on call to manage this, and it was $800,000 piece of equipment. And when small countertop check readers came into play, all these people were like, I'm losing my job because this small piece of equipment is replacing. And you know what ended up happening? That $800,000 machine was replaced by a fleet of $600 machines, $700 machines. And one technician could no longer keep up with it. We ended up going from one technician, 2 technician shop to a dozen technicians to fix these pieces of equipment. So I think people always doom and gloom with this technology as it changes, And that's just one aspect. That's happened to me multiple times in my career where things like this has changed, and it's always been doom and gloom. And I can remember when we had these sharp teller machines. If you've been in the banking industry, you know anything about those. When those went away and they went to the Canon, and Canon started making Canon and a few other companies started making these small monochrome computers, and everybody, and I worked on typewriters that got replaced by these sharp teller machines and these loan calculators and things. And it's just technology changes. You either grow with it or you get left behind. And that's all I could say. AI is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. Companies are abusing what it can do today because of the unicorn dream they're sold today. The AI can do anything, right? It's not to that point. AI has problems. AI hallucinates. AI goes off the rails. I mean, anybody who plays with AI knows that it's not foolproof. It's not even 80% right sometimes. You're just like, I have no freaking clue where you got half of this information, right? You're like, it's a closed LLM, but somehow it's got information that I didn't feed it. Where did that come from, right? It made it up sometimes. So it's here to stay. I see good use cases.
I just hope the industry is smarter about it.
Yes, really, but we already proven not to, right? Whether, because we have Intel doing massive layoffs, other companies doing layoffs. Some of it's being blamed on AI, and some of it's probably AI is just a cover front, right? Where we just need to balance the books, or we are overstaffed or whatever, and we're going to blame AI on it, right? Like I said, technology has changed, and the whole QA department thing that I mentioned before, where you had everybody in your QA department was running manual QA checks every time you did a new release of a game or software. And now they've got automation for all this stuff when they release patches and stuff. And now they have automation engineers. So, they didn't replace anybody. It's just the people who got, had to be more tech savvy or had to be able to do the automation tasks, the automation development of programming. So jobs will change. It's just like when robotics came into manufacturing. You guys remember all that? That was a big craze back in the 90s and 2000s. Robots are going to take our jobs. That died off.
They did. No, they did.
No, they didn't. They create a whole new industry. They create a whole new industry. Yeah, create a whole new industry. It created a robotics technician and service industry where you may have replaced 3 to 5 people, but you end up hiring 2 to 3.
Those people didn't learn computers.
No, they didn't. The next generation came up behind them did. So you created
those people just went on unemployment.
those people, they went on unemployment, or they found another job somewhere else, or they got repurposed somewhere else within the manufacturing plant.
But you don't make that kind of money going from a manufacturing plant like say a Ford assembly line to whatever else is in your town, because that's just the way it is. Those big Ford dealerships or manufacturing, Toyota, they go to small towns. That's the job of the town. That's what becomes the town. And when you start automating that, the old timers like me, I am way too old to start a new freaking job, to learn something new. I don't even want to learn something old. So it's just not that simple. Now, don't get wrong. I'm not disagreeing with you that it can create whole other sectors, and it has created other sectors. But I think AI is a bigger destroyer to the workforce than it will be a gain.
I don't think so. It gives the everyday person the ability to do something they have no skills or talent for.
Mm-hmm. It gives the everyday employer to fire the everyday person because they don't need them now.
Same thing happens with every technology.
I'm looking at it from the dark side of it. You're looking at it in more of the what could be a positive light. But the key thing is to either direction.
It's
person
a
utilizing.
It's a disruptor.
It's the person utilizing it. That's going to be the biggest driving force of.
It's the corporations and not necessarily the person. I think the corporations.
Corporations. Yeah, let me make sure I don't single out just Bob. Gojira did it.
Yeah. But everything in history is that, right? You can blame the assembly line for getting rid of hundreds, if not thousands, of employees. You can thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people were eliminated with automation. Hundreds of thousands of people were eliminated with software. Hundreds of thousands of people were eliminated with computers, and now we're just in another aspect of that. Even our population continues to grow, and we continue to employ a good majority of those people. Not everybody is always gainfully employed, right? And I do not believe for one second that you are too old to learn anything, because you learn something every year, every day, because
I don't choose to.
I know you don't choose to, but what you do in life, your rules and regulations change every damn year, every damn week sometimes. So,
that's why, I learned to do certain things just to make my job easier or just for fun. Nick has, finally convinced me to play MMO. It's something new. It's something different. I knew of it. I understand it, but I've never played one. And now I'm raiding dungeons. Okay. I'm a dungeon raider. So, there's nothing wrong with learning new things. There's nothing wrong with technology. It's all about use.
Yeah.
That's really what it all comes down to. So,
yep. And in Arc Raiders' case, in my opinion, I don't think they would have voiced it. They would have just not voiced it. So I don't
disagree with that.
So I think that what they did was probably a smart move, but at the same time, there is no way to prove or disprove that they would have or would not have hired a voice actor if AI wasn't around, right? There is no way. The only people that know that are the people behind the closed boardroom doors. Mm-hmm. So we will never know. But you guys got anything else? Because AI can be a heated topic sometimes, good, bad, indifferent. All right.
No.
Well, let us know what you guys think down in the comments. What do you think about Arc Raiders' use of AI? Do you think it was a good use case? Are you for or against AI in any part of the video game industry? Are you for AI, against AI? Where do you sit? Everybody's entitled to their opinion. People have had bad experiences. People have been laid off because of technology or advancements in machining or the assembly line type stuff. So let us know what you think down in the comments. What do you think about the Arc Raiders? What do you think about AI in general? And if you're not subscribed, why not? You've reached the end of this video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button to help us out. Make sure you hit that bell to get notified when we put out new videos, because we put out multiple videos every week. And we hope you enjoyed this episode and hope to catch you in the next one.
See ya.